Welcome to the Fit 15 podcast show, where you'll find health and fitness inspiration, motivation, and information shared in 15-minute episodes. Tune in while getting a move on to make leading and enjoying the benefits of a healthy lifestyle almost too easy. It's the Fit 15. And now your host, Catherine Basu.
Welcome to the Fit 15 podcast show. I'm your host, Catherine Basu. And my guest today is Amanda Martin. Amanda is the owner of Blue Fox Wellness. She has her master's degree in health administration from the University of Michigan, national certifications in both wellness coaching and group exercise instruction, and lots of experience, varied experience in the health and wellness field, from time working in health clinics, hospitals, as well as a national healthcare consulting company, in addition to her fitness classes that she teaches. And I'm really excited to share my conversation with Amanda with you. You'll get to learn what wellness coaching is, how to find a good qualified wellness coach, and some great tips for leading a healthier, happier life. And spoiler alert, they're not all about working out. Welcome to the podcast, Amanda. I'm so excited to have you as my guest today.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
So we met briefly at Alt Summit back in Palm Springs a few months back now, and we're one of maybe the few health and wellness focused people at that conference, but really enjoyed meeting you then, and would love to have you share with the listeners what you do in the health and wellness space and why you're so passionate about that, or what led you to having a career in that space.
Yeah, so my background is a little more in healthcare administration. I have my master's in health services administration from the University of Michigan. And I was working in healthcare consulting, working for hospitals. And when I had studied my master's degree, it was a lot more focused on like health behavior change. And so I kind of decided to go back into that. I got my wellness coach certification and just loved it and realized, no, this is where I need to be. I love working one-on-one with people and helping them achieve whatever their wellness goals are. So I decided to leave healthcare consulting, started Blue Fox Wellness, which is my health coaching business. And since then, it's been a little bit of a whirlwind, but it's been really wonderful. And I definitely feel like this is where I'm supposed to be, and helping people, whether they want to lose weight or help manage their stress or whatever it is, has just been such a great opportunity, and I'm really enjoying it.
Awesome. Well, I can definitely relate to having that feel very fulfilling to work with people one-on-one. So
yeah.
Well, okay, but I have to say that it seems like everyone today is a wellness coach or a health coach. So could you tell us what makes you different, and maybe a little bit, maybe even help the listeners know if they see someone that's a health or wellness coach, how could they kind of filter through who's out there to make sure they're working with someone that is going to help them in the long run versus maybe doesn't have any actual credentials, I guess.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for this question, because I think that there's just so much gray area right now with health and wellness coaching. So what I would say to listeners, if you see someone that is a health or a wellness coach, is really look at like what credentials they have. There are so many different groups that are quote unquote certifying people as health coaches and wellness coaches, or people that just call themselves these things. But you really want someone that went through a program that's through the International Consortium for Health and Wellness Coaching. I know it's a really long word, but they have a few programs that are accredited through them. And those are really the ones that you can count on, with people that are experts that you can trust, because you never really know out there right now. There's just so many people. And I think there's a role for all of them. I don't want to discredit anyone that's a health coach and doesn't have that. I'm not saying that they're not valid and they don't have a place. But just that if you're looking for someone that focuses on motivational interviewing, which is a key part of wellness coaching, that I would really look for that certification.
Awesome. Now, do you know, because I know for me, I'm certified through the American Council on Exercise for Personal Training. And I know I'm forgetting now what the website is, but there's a website that has other people who are certified fitness professionals that you could search to make sure they have a good accreditation as well. Is there like any resource that people could go to make sure that no matter what specific wellness or health coach program their health coach went through was recommended?
No, definitely. So it's the National Board for Health. I think you said international, but I'm sorry. It's the National Board for Health and Wellness Coaching.
Okay.
And if you go to just nbhwc.org, they have a program of like approval page. And from there, you can kind of see just like their directory of programs that have been approved through them. So there are some universities like Duke University, and I think like Mayo Clinic has another one. I went through one called Catalyst Coaching. And so there's a handful, but I would really make sure that the program that they went through is approved through there.
Sure. Okay, cool. That's really helpful. I know, yeah, like you said, there's so many, so it can be hard to know. And like you said too, I mean, I think there is something to be said about, even if someone maybe doesn't have a specific credential, if you connect with them as a person, that can be more valuable sometimes. But I think ideally you'd connect with someone as a person, and then they'd also have the background to help you out as well, right?
Right, exactly. And I think a big difference is, I mean, someone could maybe lose, like, let's say someone lost 30 pounds and they want to share their story and share how they did it. So they call themselves a health coach, and they, give other people their own diet and their own health plan. I think that could work for people, but there's also some danger there because they're not necessarily, a dietitian that has that educational background, and there could be some risk if you're giving someone a diet plan and maybe you don't know they also, if they have diabetes or they have other things going on. It can be a little bit risky. And same with those fitness plans, where maybe you want to go to a certified personal trainer.
Sure.
But again, I mean, I think it's all up to you. If you want to work with a health coach that doesn't have that certification, I think that's totally fine. But it's just important to have that awareness going in.
Sure. No, for sure. And then you mentioned motivational interviewing as part of what you do with clients. And I've only ever taken one course on it, but it was fascinating to me, and I could see how that would be so helpful. And I've tried to use that I have like a 10-week program I do. So I've tried to use that with my small group program, but I could see how just developing that skill even more could be really helpful. Could you just tell listeners about what does that mean, motivational interviewing? What would that look like if they came to you as a wellness coach or someone that used that in their practice? Hi friends, it's Catherine, and that sound was your halfway point reminder. If you are joining us and only have time for a 15-minute walk and are doing an out and back walk, you will want to turn around now. All right, back to Amanda.
Yeah, so motivational interviewing is kind of like it's a counseling method, and it's rooted in psychology, where for me, like I think you can think of me not so much as like your coach or your expert. I'm more of a guide. So it's really pulling the internal motivation to change behavior from the client or the patient or whoever you're working with. So it comes from a very non-judgmental place. And whenever we start any session, I don't have any type of end goal for you. Like I don't have a 5-step SMART goal plan already set for you. It's actually something where when we talk, you're going to set that SMART goal based on your lifestyle, because really you're the expert in your life. But I can just help you get to those steps and help you form that plan. So it's really client-led, and I'm more of a guide.
No, I love that, because it's not like you're going to prescribe something, because even going back to talking about people that have lost a lot of weight and they want to share their story, I mean, assuming they did it in a healthy, sustainable way, every person's journey is different. There are certain foods that work well for certain people and not for others. So I think that, I really like latched on to this idea of motivational interviewing, because I think it allows for that, right? You're not prescribing something that the person has to follow to be healthy. There's not one way for everyone. It's something that's driven by what works for their life, but just kind of figuring that out together. And because you have the background, you're able to suggest things if they have questions on that, but you're not going to prescribe it, from the get-go.
Yeah, and that's such a good way to describe it too, because it's really where I'm just kind of supporting you and encouraging you to explore like your reasons for change and your own reasons for wanting to change, and kind of evoking that conversation and evoking that commitment. But I'm not the one that ever puts that on you. You bring it out. So it's really interesting. And I mean, there's just so many scientific studies that show that this is the most effective way for someone to want to finish those goals and to actually follow through with whatever goals they set. So just having that science behind it too, I think makes it even more powerful.
I love that. But unfortunately, it's not what most physicians are using right now, right?
Correct. It's so funny. So actually my husband is a doctor, and we talk about motivational interviewing a lot and how that's something that he can incorporate into his practice and working with patients, because unfortunately he's so pressed for time where in the hospital, it's just like you need to get through so many patients and all of that. But like within that time, like how can you really utilize that time to connect with patients, to make them feel heard, and also to allow, like almost empowering them to make the change.
Yeah, I guess it's not for maybe some of them not being interested in using better methods, but you're right. It's the time crunch is really, really challenging. So that's why we need health coaches and wellness coaches.
Yeah, I know. That's exactly. I mean, that's why it works so well. And I totally understand like why, doctors don't have the time to do it. And also just a lot, I mean, it's not taught in medical school, which I think it should be, but
right. I know.
But that's exactly it, right? Like if you go to the doctor and they say, hey, you need to lose weight, you need to manage your blood pressure, and whatever it is, you have diabetes, you need to lower your A1C. And then they come home and they're like, okay, I know what I'm supposed to do, but how? Like the question of how, like I won't tell you what to do, but once you know what to do, we can work through how to do it in your life.
That's awesome. I mean, so if someone who's listening was told, they have to do something by their physician or look at some metrics that their physician has told them are not looking so good from a medical standpoint, that would be a good time to reach out to you. And I guess, do you have any, along those lines too, are there any specific clients that you find yourself working with more or that you enjoy working with more that maybe have come over from a physician recommendation or?
Yeah. I mean, I think right now I have quite a mix. I have found that mostly people that have hired me have been between like the ages of 25 and 45. And a lot of that I think is they're just more open to health coaching.
Sure.
And to this idea, right? Learning what it is and going forward with it. But I have started teaching some local fitness classes at some gyms. I'm a group exercise instructor, so I work a lot with the senior populations there. And then it's been nice being able to just explain when people ask like what I do, I can explain what a health coach is. And so I think there's so much room. I think everyone can benefit from a wellness coach, even anyone can. So I hope though that in the future that those groups might be more open to it, because some of it is just being able to change your lifestyle. And those are such pivotal years as you grow older to be able to stay active, because it makes such a difference on your quality of life.
No, for sure. Awesome. One thing we were talking about too, it's exciting, is that you have a podcast that you're launching soon. And you told me that one thing you'll focus on with that is just going over like what is healthy and that kind of question. Do you want to share, I guess, a little bit about the podcast, like preview it for us, what people might want to subscribe, and then maybe even just dive into that question a little bit, like how do you filter things for yourself of whether or not they're healthy?
So the podcast is coming out in July. I'm super excited. It's just called the Blue Fox Wellness Podcast. So pretty simple. And it will be myself and also my husband, who I mentioned was a doctor. So his specialty is physical medicine and rehabilitation. And with my background in like healthcare administration and then also health coaching, we make a good pair.
Yeah.
I'm always really interested in like, the latest diets of keto or paleo, or should you be counting your macros and using essential oils? And now CBD oil is like all over the place.
Right.
So I'm always really interested. Like our dinner, it was inspired through our dinner table conversations, because they're always on something health and wellness related. Whether we're like, let's discuss reimbursement models for healthcare and like health insurance, or
that's
like,
awesome.
what's going on? So it's really fun, because for me, I'm a little bit more like willing to like like, okay, I could see where essential oils could come in and like, let's talk more about it. And Connor is really, that's my husband. He's really like, well, where's the research? Like, show me the scientific evidence.
Right.
Like, and then I'll find something and then he'll say, well, I don't know. This was a study of only this many people. And it was, so many things. So it's really interesting. And then one day we're like, you know what? I think other people would want to hear this. So we decided to start this podcast, and it'll be a range. A lot of it will be kind of just exploring and challenging wellness trends and diets and what's the science behind them. Mm-hmm. And also just interviewing other wellness experts. I think it's really similar to what you're doing, but a little bit of a deep dive into a meditation expert and a registered dietitian, and kind of going over some myths and ideas of like, one podcast episode is going to be on antioxidants, and people say you should have dark chocolate and wine and coffee, and other people say don't. And then the question is how much and how often. So we'll really go into that. So I'm excited. And I think just it's so hard to know like what's healthy and what's not, especially when the food like the food industry and marketing and everything. There's just so much money there. And I think that unfortunately people can get taken advantage of because they want to be sold this miracle, XYZ that will cure their diabetes and heart disease or asthma, whatever it is, or help them lose weight. Mm-hmm. So I think part of the podcast as well will just be, we'll talk about specific things, but also if you come across something in the store or you see an advertisement, what are the tools and what are the steps that you can take to empower you? Like, how can I look this up? What are some websites that I can trust? Or what are some different resources that I can use to check to see if this is a good idea for me? Because it's just sometimes so overwhelming that, we're experts in whatever we're doing, whether mine is health coaching and he's a medical doctor. But we're also, caught in the grocery store like, okay, this has this whatever oil, like, is this good? And like, like on our phones, Googling it. And then you just get these really confusing research studies. And then you're like, what? And, I have my master's degree. He has his doctorate. And we're still like, I don't know if I should eat this or not.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, we'll explore a lot of that as well.
I think that's important. My background is I did biology as one of my majors in college. And so I'm always interested and curious. And then, I think some of the state of how things are, I won't make this too political, but I feel like, that's so important for whether you want to study sciences or not in the future, just as a consumer, just having that scientific method and how to filter things is so important. I think it's something that we're unfortunately lacking as a society right now. So
yeah,
definitely need those. The podcast is definitely needed. So I'm excited to check it out and mark my time of July there.
Yeah, thank you. We'll have a more specific date coming soon. I'm thinking it'll be July 1st.
Okay.
But we just got to get our ducks in a row, because major props to you, because starting a podcast is its own like hurdle. So we're, my husband and I are like the furthest thing from technologically savvy, and we will be the first to admit it. So a lot of it has just been stumbling through what I'm sure is very basic, but for us has been so difficult.
No, I'm definitely there with you. Or sometimes I'll go in and I think everything is set, and then I'll go in one day and be editing and like, wait a minute, why does this sound like it has a huge echo? And I'm sure there's ones that are out there that are still not perfect. So sorry, listeners, but thanks for bearing with me.
No, it's good. I think something I've really started to live my life by is the idea of like, don't let perfection be the enemy of good.
Yes.
Because I'm someone who's such like a type A. This has to be perfect before I share it with the world, or, everything has to be lined up. And I've come to realize, like, you know what, that's just never going to happen. So let's get something out there. And if there's an echo, that's fine. Because if people want to listen and you have value to share, like, they will be there and it'll be worth it. And at least that's what I tell myself and what I journal.
No, that's something that, I wouldn't have. My business is now 6 years old, and I really struggle before I, put out there, like, well, this is not perfect. That's not perfect. And, it just holds you back from, it would have held me back from launching my business. But I think a lot of people, even with their health and wellness goals, I have clients. So for my business, we do a lot of sessions over video chat. And I have a lot of people say that they love that we offer that because they're not having to be in shape to get to the gym. So I think that perfectionism mindset can set you back, whether you're starting a business, a podcast, trying to, get healthy. It can really, so I'm, challenge listeners to question that voice if it's getting into their head for any of those things they're working on.
Yeah, I 100% agree, because like any small step towards like productivity and self-development should be celebrated in itself. Whether or not you made it the mile, like one step is still amazing.
No, for sure. I want to touch on real quick before we say our goodbyes probably, but so the podcast is the Blue Fox Wellness Podcast. And because we chatted about this before, I think these are some good tips for people to think about, just some small things. And we talked about blue zones, and you were saying that you guys live in a blue zone. What are some of what is a blue zone for the listeners who haven't heard that term? And then what are some of the takeaways we can get from communities that are blue zones that could maybe help us lead healthier, happier lives?
Yeah. So a blue zone is like a region in the world where people have the longest life expectancy. So there's a couple like in Japan, and like I think there's one in Italy, and there's one in the United States, and it's Loma Linda, California, it's in the Inland Empire. So it's Southern California, about like an hour east of LA. And so we live here, and it is like an 8 square mile little tiny town. But the people here have the longest life expectancy out of the whole country, and also top in the world. And a lot of that is because that we have a lot of vegetarians. There's a large Seventh-day Adventist group here. And within that religion, they don't eat meat, and they abstain from alcohol, and they also honor the Sabbath. So pretty much Friday afternoon and all day Saturday, they take it as a rest day, like an actual rest day. And they use that time to reconnect with family and to connect with their community. So having all of those things, and then this idea that your spiritual health is strongly tied with your emotional health, your mental health, and also your physical health. So they're just very active in having that balance. So it's been really interesting, because I teach classes, like I said, at the gym, at the local gym, and I will have people that are in their 90s just working up a sweat, like moving, talking, so active, so sharp, and it's so inspirational. So kind of incorporating that into my practice as a wellness coach has been, and even our lifestyle here, because my husband and I are not Seventh-day Adventists, but we're starting to incorporate, we're eating a lot more vegetarian. We do meatless Mondays now. We're trying to use Saturday too as kind of like our own rest day, where we really take the time to reconnect with each other, do something with the community, and kind of using some of those small, almost lifestyle changes, but also mental and like emotional perspective changes, and working with my clients with that, I think makes a big difference.
I love that. Yeah, that's awesome. So just kind of slowing down, I think that's huge. I don't know, as a entrepreneur, I know I often am like, well, I have this one last thing that didn't get done during the week. But those weekends, when I take the time to actually have a weekend, I feel so much more refreshed, and the quality of whatever I was going to do that one last thing is so much better. So.
Absolutely. And I think that you hit it on the nose with like the quality. I mean, I think that it changes not just like the quantity of the years you have, but the quality of those years, really. Because like I said, to have these 90-year-olds that are in there and still really enjoying life, and they're not limited in their mobility. They're not limited in their ability to connect with other people and talk and have conversations and still be active in their community. That's just such a beautiful thing. And it's been a blessing to be able to be a part of it and to be able to share that with the people I work with.
That's awesome. Well, obviously we could probably chat all day, right? So much goodness. But I guess, so where can people go to make sure that they maybe don't forget to find you in July when the podcast launches, and then also just stay in touch with you? I'll put this in the show notes, but I guess, and then one other thing I wanted to have you maybe mention is that you said that you have a a brunch series that you're starting for entrepreneurs, but that's a community thing, which we said is could help with the longer lifestyle. So maybe just share best ways to connect with you and stay in touch, just for the listeners to hear it one time.
Yes. So they can go to bluefoxwellness.com. And you'll be prompted if you want to sign up for a newsletter. And there's also some links to sign up for a newsletter. That's the best way to stay up to date with the podcast and other things that Blue Fox Wellness is doing. I'm also on Instagram on @BlueFoxWellness, and Facebook is Blue Fox Wellness. And you can also just email me directly, Amanda @bluefoxwellness.com. I will say, as my caveat, like, I am a one-woman show, so I'm the one kind of running all those things. And my technological skills for podcasting extends to my website and everything else. So I think it's a little clunkier than I would want, but I think you'll see the heart behind it. And
yes.
Also, if there's anything and it's not on there, like, just contact me directly at Amanda @bluefoxwellness.com. I'm slowly kind of getting all those things running, but honestly, I'd rather spend 90% of my time working one-on-one with my clients than, perfecting my Instagram. So
yes. And I'll tell you right now, I have 2 pop-ups somehow on my homepage. So I'm right there with you. I'm like, I need to fix it, but there's other more important things.
Right. Exactly. So I'll get to them, but for now, just know my heart is in the right place. So, and I want to honestly, I want to be really, a big important thing for me is being, reasonably priced and being accessible for everyone. That's just so big. So I don't want to be this really exclusive high-end thing. Like, I just want, if you really, want wellness coaching, like, talk to me. And it's something that I can work with anybody pretty much. Because it's just about helping others. And part of that is keeping my costs down, which is why I have a clunky website.
I love it. No, it's awesome.
So I am starting a brunch club in the Inland Empire. So that's like Southern California area. And it's just for female entrepreneurs or female entrepreneur allies. It's open to get together and connect. I think you mentioned we met at Alt Summit, and that was just such an incredible opportunity to connect with other women entrepreneurs and build this community that really, like, when we can just build each other up and make each other stronger. And we don't have anything like that in this area. So I was like, you know what, let's just do a brunch. So we do a monthly brunch, and there's no pressure. It's really just getting together, sharing what you're up to, connecting, networking, and supporting one another. The first one is May 31st. And after that, it'll be monthly. You can, on Facebook, it's under the Girl Boss Brunch Club Inland Empire.
Awesome.
It's a group. You're welcome to join. You can also email me again, Amanda @bluefoxwellness.com, if you're curious, and I can get you connected there.
Awesome. Well, I may have to see if I may or may not be able to make the first one, but I'm definitely going to keep an eye out on the schedule to try to check it out at some point, because it sounds really fun.
Oh yeah, I mean, at the very least, if you're maybe not even from this area, this Facebook group is not an exclusive. Everyone's welcome, and a lot of things we can do is just supporting each other, even on the Facebook group. So if that's something you're interested in joining, then we welcome everyone.
I love that. I have to say, no, not every entrepreneur is like this, but one of the biggest things I found when I transitioned from, working at a, regular job and to working for myself and interacting with other entrepreneurs is that I find that, most of us are very supportive. And so I just encourage people, like, I'm glad that you said that they don't have to be in the area to check out the Facebook group, but just encourage people to find some group in their community too, because that's been really, really helpful for me. So.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And being able to share, even just like, you don't have to reach out for help, but know that you can, and just share your little triumphs of the day. It's really helpful to have that community supporting you and know that you're not alone on this journey, and you don't need to be alone. There's a group for you.
Right. That's awesome. Well, Amanda, I really enjoyed getting to know you better, myself. And then I hope the podcast listeners have enjoyed this as well, and look forward to maybe seeing you again at a brunch, and definitely catching up on the podcast when that airs. So thanks so much for taking the time to spend with us today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It has been a joy.
Thanks for listening to the Fit 15. For show notes and more, visit fitarmadillo.com/podcast. See you next time.
Hi friends, it's Catherine. I hope you enjoyed listening to my conversation with Amanda and are feeling inspired to maybe beat that perfectionism and take some steps toward a healthier lifestyle. Wanted to just share something with you. I have a little incentive for those of you who have been thinking that you want to eat more fruits and vegetables this week. I don't want to spoil it, but I want you to go over to my Fit Armadillo social media accounts. So you could go to @FitArmadillo on Instagram or @FitSpaceArmadillo on Facebook to learn more about the giveaway I'm doing that is trying to incentivize you to up your fruit and veggie intake this week. Other than that, if you are in the Inland Empire or near it, I hope to maybe see you at Amanda's brunch rounding out this month of May. I'm working really hard to make sure I can get there this month, but if not, I hope to be there in the future and maybe see you in the Facebook group. Love what Amanda's doing and hope you have enjoyed getting a little peek into her world, and we'll continue to follow her from here on out. As always, if you're enjoying the podcast, don't forget to leave a rating and review over on iTunes, Stitcher, or wherever you listen to podcasts to make my day and help other people find the podcast show, and to subscribe to this show so you don't miss a future episode. If you subscribe, I have a shiny new episode coming your way tomorrow. Thanks so much for listening. Hope to chat with you later. Don't forget the review and the veggies and fruits. All right. Bye, guys.